like I've done this before or something. I know how to hit record. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. I am here today with Shaun Hadsall, the ripped grandpa, CEO of Get Lean After 40, named one of America's most fit health and fitness professionals over 40 by Club Solutions magazine, and been featured on everything from ESPN to Muscle Media, and author of 3 best-selling diet books with over 250,000 copies sold. Welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, brother. Thank you for having me. Excited.
Likewise. You made me want to get up this morning and do push-ups immediately because I'm over 40, and I was like, man, I need to get my act together. It's nothing like being humbled on your own show.
Right.
Like, I feel I have to sit a little more, get my posture up, right? What is that, peacocking? No. So tell us where you're from, what you're trying to do here, kind of how you got into the whole entire fitness regimen.
I think I'm in Michigan, reside here my whole life. We've spent 9 winters in Florida, a dream come true, but ultimately the grandkids, now we have 10 grandkids here in Michigan that are getting older. The oldest one's 9. And they're keeping us home now instead of going to Florida for the winter. We just don't, the blood is thicker than the warm weather, So,
it absolutely has to be.
Yeah. And then my oldest stepson got a 5-year deal as head coach in Michigan hockey. So we were missing all those games as well. And of course that didn't sit well. So it was the first time ever we're like down in Florida last year. We're like, we don't even want to be here. So yeah. But I started.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. I think so. It's the relationship, it just goes to show you the power of family and relationships. Like at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. Memories and experiences out trump material crap any day of the week. Right.
100%. I think we lose sight of that, with the material possessions and being on that hamster wheel that society has provided us, to get our bio-survivability tickets, running. But we don't realize that there's really a lot more to be said by remaining present and mindful and utilizing that time to be with your family, because your family is going to be there with you forever. And they're the ones that are the closest to you and know who you are. Also the family that you choose. Right? Because let's be real, it's 2024 and we are now understanding that the familial unit can be anything and everything. And that's a good thing in my mind. Yeah. Love trumps everything.
Right.
And a wanted child is the best situation you could ever want.
Amen.
Right?
Amen.
So all that said, it takes a moment in time, a crossroads, or numerous moments or crossroads for someone to begin to become mindful or aware of their reality or situation enough to begin to tackle what is the sedentary lifestyle of America. And now you're 40, 42, 43, you look down and your belly button has depth, right? What do you do? How do you get out of that? And how do you start moving forward?
I think,
or even recognize it.
I mean, my solution was focusing on hormones, and we'll talk more about that. My main mechanism of weight loss is called a 3-step hormone reset. And we can talk more about that. It's a framework that I use that I customize for the individual on my high level VIP coaching stuff. We can kind of dive into that framework. Of course, I've used it on my own body to keep my abs from the time I was 40 till now 53. And then, after selling over 1 million ebooks, what I discovered was that there was about a 5% success rate with ebooks. And the reason why is not because the program doesn't work, it's because the person doesn't. And, anytime that you're paying 37, 47, 57, hell, even $97 for an ebook or a couple $100 for a pill, it's not enough to change your habits. It's not enough. When you don't pay attention. And that's just the reality of it. And of course, if we're talking about like supplements and pills, I mean, ultimately, all you're doing is trying to put a Band-Aid on a broken bone. So what I'm a professional at is fixing the broken bone. And we fix the broken bone by creating a lifestyle of leanness. And so I don't believe in dieting. I'm all about adherence and sustainability. Because at the end of the day, what is the best diet and exercise plan to follow? And I hesitate to use the word diet. I hate the word diet. You just spell it out, DIET, and drop the T, because that's what's going to happen. And research confirms it across the board now. There's a 94% chance you're going to regain all or more of the weight back when you follow a diet because it's not sustainable and you can't adhere to it. So that's why I developed this 3-step hormone reset framework. Because when I got in my 40s, all of a sudden it was like, oh man, the regular fitness stuff isn't working like it used to. It's a lot harder.
No, metabolism changes, lifestyle changes, age, sets in. Your body metabolizes things in a completely different way because it has different agenda.
Yes. And what happens is there's not only environmental factors working against us now. This is why guys' testosterone levels are so low in their 30s now. But it's also, like you said, age. So there's sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle loss that kicks in. BMR, basal metabolic rate, starts slowing down when we hit 40. There's something called somatopause that kicks in. And this is our body's ability to produce growth hormone starts declining. And so we have all these hormonal and metabolic factors working against us. And so I developed this framework actually back in 2008, 2009, when my wife was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And the radiation that's forced her into early menopause. Now, at the time, we thought it was a death sentence, but God always has a plan. And once she recovered, because the treatments fried her ovaries and forced her into premature menopause, she started storing fat in very unusual places, upper belly region, upper hip region. And the traditional cut carbs, do more cardio didn't work anymore. And so it sent me down a rabbit hole of researching hormones. And so I developed this 3-step hormone reset that we can kind of dive into a little bit, where it actually helps you reset, optimize, and rebalance 6 of your body's weight regulating hormones that we can chat about a little bit. Now, it all started for me, though. I mean, just backing up a little bit. And the reason that I'm still in this industry is because I'm a firm believer in this, that focused fitness equals stronger faith, family, friends, finances, and future. I call it the 6 F's. Okay. And when I was 28 years old, I was in a huge custody battle for my daughter. They wouldn't let me see her. And so I would see her randomly, like once every 6 months when they needed a babysitter and they were desperate. They just kept her from me in and out of my life. And it literally was ripping my soul apart. I just wanted to be her dad. And so I saw this contest at in a magazine one day, checking out at a grocery store. And this is back when people actually read magazines.
Right? They had the Inquirer up there. You had to get a look to see who was scamming who, or who got a picture taken in a weird situation. Because back then we didn't have social media. That was the original scrolling. Yes, it was going through the checkout line and you went left to right instead of up and down.
Yes, great analogy. Yes. So I picked up this magazine called Muscle Media. And I started reading about a contest called Body for Life. And I read a story about a guy who was fighting for his kids. And he was, drinking a 6-pack every night. He didn't have the right type of 6-pack, right? The wrong types. And, he entered the contest, transformed his body, won his life back, won his kids back. And it just echoed my situation so closely that I was inspired to enter that contest. And then 90 days later, after that contest, I was first runner-up grand champion out of over 23,000 finishers. And so that was my catalyst into the fitness industry. Now, the reason I share this backstory is because that was my epiphany, where I realized it's not just about your passion in life, because, pursue your passion. Well, if you suck at it, then don't pursue that passion, right? I just had a natural knack for being really good at fitness.
You're so right.
Yeah. So
everybody should be living the fingerprint that they are.
Right.
Right. We're all individuals. We all have authentic personalities, capabilities that are unique to us in a very special way. And to not capitalize on that or not be that person is a slap in the face of whomever or whatever made you, and a slap in the face of all the people around you who don't know who you actually are. Right. We bring good things to the table. So I want to hold on for just a moment, right? And I believe that, I like that you said epiphany. The analogy I use a lot of times is you have to hit your knees in order to plant a tree, right? You have to grow from a new position. You cannot do it if you're not ready. It has to be an individual decision. It's not something somebody else can talk you into, right? So my question to you is, right, outside of that epiphany and the traumatic moments that you had away from your child, how can someone begin to live their life in a manner that will give them the clarity to be able to plant that tree? because I'm sure that you have a lifestyle that you live outside of fitness, right? It's a way of thinking, a way of approaching life situations, a way of taking in those around you, right? To give you that platform so you can be mindful and see people coming to you. You can identify the deficiencies in certain areas that they can't see through their own lenses because they don't have yours, right? So can you tell me what that life looks like?
Well, I think I think that's a personal choice, number one, but I think the way to build your life is identifying your superpowers. What are your superpowers? Not necessarily what are you passionate about, but what are you great at? And so just recognizing your own God-given talent. We all have spiritual gifts and a unique ability. We need to identify that ability and build at least the business side of our life around that, in my opinion. And even the personal life can be built.
You're 100% correct.
So at the end of the day, you have to figure out what is worthy of your total focus. Like, what will you never get sick of? And
you're 100% correct.
Right. And at the same time, how does your superpowers or your unique ability fit into that? And so for me, that was fitness. And so what ended up happening with this contest is 90 days went by. I wasn't like overly fat when I did the contest. Okay. I lost 21 pounds, mostly belly fat. I gained 5 pounds of muscle at the same time. And I had a 6-pack for the first time ever. Okay, great. Another transformation. Hundreds of thousands of them every now, right? But what I realized was that the 6-pack in the mirror was the bullseye of my body and life. My life. Okay. So, because at the end of that contest, I had joint legal custody rights to my daughter. I paid off a bunch of bad debt. I had mended broken relationships that I had avoided mending because I had the courage to do it. Afterwards, I landed a new career. I stopped doing drugs and hanging around losers. I surrounded myself with like-minded individuals. And then at the end of the day, I found my passion in life, or my unique ability, what I was good at.
Would you say that you could also see people coming to you as you lived your authentic life? The people that were of the same mindset were attracted to your quote unquote frequency, if you will. Say you're on 95.5 and you've dialed in, and now those people want to hear your station, and somehow, some way, they find their way to you.
Yeah, I think they see it visually. And then of course that when you seize that, it also has energy at the same time, right? It puts the energy out there for people to see that. Yes, 100%. So for me, that's when it hit me. Instead of going after a business that could make me the most money, I went after a business that I would never lose my focus on. I would never get sick of, and that I had a natural gift and a natural unique ability to be able to help others. And yes, it did draw people to me. I kind of became a magnet to people asking, dude, what'd you do? Like, how'd you do that? And so I think that's just like in any area of our life, if we're going to thrive in that area, you're going to draw more people into your life in that particular area that want your help. So. There, bud?
Yeah, sorry. I think I had a little delay there. But you're right. You do attract the people into your life through the ways that you conduct yourself and how they want to emulate you. They see the success. They want to be a part of it. And they also want to see the happiness that is derived from the situation that you're in. And I absolutely love that.
Well, it's also about environments too, brother.
Absolutely.
So for me, it wasn't that I necessarily just automatically attracted all these people. It was like I was in a environment, right? So if I'm hanging out at a bar, I'm going to drink. Okay. If I'm hanging out at a gym, I'm going to work out. It's common sense. So if I hang out at the gym, I'm going to get a much more positive outcome than if I hang out at the bar. And of course, if you hang out at the bar, you're hanging out with other drunks. If you hang out at the gym, you're hanging out with other fit people. And so for me, what happened is it's like the natural environment that I was in on a daily basis by dialing in my nutrition and my exercise, surrounded me automatically with more positive, like-minded people just because I changed my environments. Ben Hardy has a great book on this called Willpower Doesn't Work. You want,
it doesn't.
Take a deep psychological dive into environments and how environments control us. Just the act of even moving into another room can reactivate our creativity when we're burned out. And so environments are a very big thing that we need to be consciously aware of.
You're 100% correct. And I think there's a root cause analysis even behind that. You have to find out why it is that you choose the environments that you go to begin with. What is it that you're trying to protect inside of yourself by showing up in environments that are not conducive to a healthy life? There's a reason we do those things. And I think that once you begin that fitness regimen and you start utilizing that as a form of meditation or whatever you pick up along with it, it's going to afford you the opportunity to have that moment of clarity where you're not self-medicating or utilizing materials and other things like that to get yourself through life. And you're going to be able to examine it and say, hey, look, maybe I do this because I have this issue that happened a long time ago. And if I give into that and realize that that trauma doesn't control me and that I can be myself and have license to be the authentic person, then maybe I can move forward, right? Maybe I can be the next fit grandpa, right? Maybe I can do that too.
Starts with conscious awareness.
It is. Conscious awareness can be very difficult for people to find when they're stuck in a cyclical grind of victimhood and survivor, and that's honestly why I ask the questions that I do, because it's one thing to see someone at the pinnacle of success within what they're working on and loving what they do. But I like to show how you found the keys to open that door. Right? Because that is the story behind the story. And I like that you gave us a backstory on that with the epiphany that you had with your daughter. You bring up that you were surrounding yourself in the wrong environments. What causes you to choose those environments before this?
Well, I think just being raised in a small town. And so
Amen.
You have limited exposure to the rest of the world. You're kind of isolated and secluded into this small little farm hillbilly town I was in, right? And
can I give you a high five right now? I grew up in some place called Okeechobee, Florida, down in the south on a dairy field in a squat, flat roofed house in the middle of nowhere. So I am with you, brother. I feel this in my soul.
Yeah, the second I got out of that town, it was amazing all the things that happened. I was glad I was raised there because it taught me, I was raised on a produce farm, taught me good work ethic. My parents, I always had good parents that taught me right from wrong and, made me ethical and moral. But at the end of the day, if I would have never left that town, I would have never been able to reach my full potential. And it was because of that environment. I had to get out of that environment. And of course, when I started going to the gym, that was time that I was usually spent partying. My buddies, right? And so just as the contest went on, I stopped drinking. I stopped doing drugs right away when I did the contest. And so naturally, in order to stop doing that, I had to stop hanging around the people that influenced me to do it. And so,
and it becomes something you don't desire once you're on that regimen because your body is no longer addicted to the relief that it gets from that because it's getting a normal hit of dopamine and endorphins through the exercise that you're doing in this fitness regimen.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, I feel like fitness is like medicine to make you stronger spiritually. Number one, it's enhanced my relationship with God dramatically. I think it leaks over like a faucet of discipline into being a better father, a better grandfather, a better husband. I think it flows over into my work ethic in my business. Of course, everybody talks about vanity, and looking in the mirror and seeing that. But what you don't understand is that is a reflection of who you are in every other area. And I always talk to people, like a lot of guys that I'll get on the phone with who want coaching. They want, well, let's, are you going to look at my blood work and, put me on TRT, testosterone replacement therapy? And
Jesus Christ.
Or, well, I'm doing red light therapy and I'm doing the infrared sauna and then I cold plunge. Well, you're still soft and weak. Right. So you're like trying to put a Band-Aid on your broken bone.
Did you say red light therapy?
Yeah.
Dude, what the? I need you to explain to me what the. All right, so I was in the Army. I worked out a lot in my life, and that just sounds like something that the guy at the chiropractor or somebody shows up with this machine in the room and says, "It costs $100, and I'm going to do this to the joint in your arm for 5 minutes." and 10 months, you're going to be able to reach over your head correctly. Nothing definable right now. Like, this is when I hear red light therapy, and I'm like, man, this is getting weird. I've been in this situation. I had a vet show up with like a light that they wanted to shine on my dog's leg and telling me it was going to change like something else. And I was like, it could have been right, but I just wasn't buying it. So I can see how you're like, okay, you're here. And everybody does their own pre-workout, right? They're doing their research and finding all the reasons they can't do it or all the ways that they can get a leg up with less work. Or, they're standing on your doorstep with their hands out and you get a chance to actually guide them.
Well, you're not going to get leaner watching YouTube videos. It's not going to happen.
Oh, man.
Right? So,
really? I figure if I watch Beachbody, every day, eventually I'll have abs.
Well, I tell you what, man, there's nothing wrong with the infrared sauna. Got one right here in my workout room. There's nothing wrong with red light therapy or cold. All that stuff is fine, but it comes after we fix the broken bone. Right. So it's like you're putting the cart before the horse if you're going after. I have buddies that are 10 years younger than me who are on TRT. With all due respect, they're still soft and fat. Like, it did not change the way their body looks whatsoever. People just magically think because you're on TRT that now you're going to be huge and ripped. They don't realize that I've been spending 25 years in the gym, right? And eating right. Like, might have a little bit more influence than a TRT regimen. So for me, I want to fix the broken bone. That's what I'm a pro at. So when guys come to me, I'm like, listen, we can talk about all the biohacking. We can talk about the blood work and we can talk about the TRT. But if we get you ripped, okay, or get you lean, now, all that blood work is going to take care of itself because the number one cause of low testosterone to begin with is belly fat. So
imagine that.
If you want to optimize your testosterone levels, lose the belly fat and you'll optimize the testosterone levels. Then after we get through that and we get you lean, if we look at blood work and things are jacked up, well, that's what medicine's for. Now we talk about using the medicine. And for me, that's the inner workings of your body. And I know what I'm a professional at. I know my shit's the best when it comes to diet and exercise. I know that. But when it comes to the inner workings of your body, I outsourced my Rolodex of pros. I've been working with a hormone doctor for 12 years now.
Why wouldn't you?
Right. And
I don't want the guy that thinks he knows it all. I want the guy that has the connections and the ability to utilize tools in his toolbox over the years to, take a proper approach to what it is I have going on inside of me. I do like that you point out that there almost has to be a cleansing phase in order for a doctor to be able to address anything. You need to have a clean slate to work from. It's kind of like an Etch-a-Sketch. If you've been sitting there and drawing, doodling all over it, you need to have it shaken before you can get that new picture, right? And having you bring them back to that baseline, lose that belly fat, lose that visceral fat or whatever you want to call it, then they do have the ability to go see the doctor, with their brand new clean slate.
100%. And the other thing that I run into all the time is how I developed the program that I have now. I just target executives and entrepreneurs, typically affluent, because I've been a C-level executive for 2 health companies. And, my buddy owned a private plane and we'd fly all over to these events and masterminds and vacations and all this stuff. And all these guys would come up to me on vacation or wherever we're at by the pool. They'd see me having my cocktails. They see me eating my pasta and my dessert and I'm still shredded. And they're just like, dude, how do you do it? Like, what's your secret? And so for me, I just saw this need of all these men who are putting in the time and the effort, but getting very little ROI. And so what I do is I take the same time and effort that they're currently investing in their diet and exercise program. We redirect it into my 3-step hormone reset framework, customize it, and we 10x their ROI. And the reason why that people struggle with this, even the guys who like do excessive cardio or, everybody thinks cardio is like the ultimate fat burner. We can talk more about that in a second here. But at the end of the day, you have to create synergy. So it's not individual parts. And people look at exercise and nutrition like individual parts. Well, I do this, and then I do this, and then I do this. And guess what? None of them are working together synergistically. And so the compounding effect, I have an acronym called MEN: mindset, exercise, nutrition. If you don't have the mindset right first, then the exercise and nutrition, you're going to limit what they can do, right? So it's all about your BS, your belief system. So for me, we need to create a synergistic compounding effect. So when we get the diet and the exercise and the mindset all working together synergistically, they create a compounding effect that's 10 times more powerful than the individual parts alone.
I could totally understand that. If you were to look at the face of a machine with cogs inside of it, you need all of them to turn. You can't have one missing teeth, the other one that's turned out or too far out. They all have to be locked together in order to optimize your ability to move.
Great analogy.
That's my superpower is metaphors. I like describing shit because honestly, language is the huge divider. It doesn't give you the feelings behind the opposing person's cultural views. So they could have words that are being utilized in the same manner between the two people, but don't have the same feeling behind them in the grander scheme just because of how they come together. So utilizing these pictures and these analogies, anecdotes, and metaphors allows more people to sit at the table and take in the conversation, right? And it leaves less people out. I feel like a lot of people like to speak in a vocabulary that gives them an elite setting where they're talking to their subjects, and there's really no need to do that. Like I've been down the road. I don't even talk about it on the show. Like grew up poor, right? And then went into the Army. And then after the Army, I went into the corporate world. Right? I went to college at night and I ended up getting multiple degrees, and I worked for some of the largest consulting firms in the world, two of the top two, right? As a solution architect manager, made plenty of money, was banking it, thought that this was where I was going to be happy. Put the theater in the house, get the Audi, fly to here, get the limo picked up for work, all this happy stuff. But man alive, it's shit if you're not doing what you love. Right? I was just plugging stuff in and getting temporary highs, but you can be at the top of your game in every asset. But if you're not good inside and you're not fulfilling or fanning the flames of your actual fire and not somebody else's, then you're never going to stand up and be able to do things happily and enjoy life. I like that you're the ripped grandpa and that you're giving guys that are going into that age bracket a chance to what? Enjoy being a grandpa.
Amen.
Right? What's the worst than wanting to spend time with a kid, but not being able to bend over, or having to have somebody grab your hand to come out of your easy chair, or even worse, one of those things that look like a catapult now, like the chair just lifts you up into the sky and then you're standing. So, I mean, nobody wants that at that age. They want to be able to go outside and sprint next to their grandkid and go, you're not fast yet, right? Even grandpa can beat you. That's the shit I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be the guy that's like, oh, okay, I guess I'll go outside. Okay, grandpa's here, let's watch. Fuck that. That sounds so uncool, right? But being the guy that can, arm wrestle the nephew, at least until he's like, you don't want to break your arm and look like an idiot. You got to know, because if you get up there and throw it up with the wrong nephew and you get your shit tossed, then, your ego's in check. You got I refuse to have that moment. I'm going to slap the basketball down on my son until he's about 13. And then I'm going to claim I have an ankle injury that doesn't allow me to get back in the game. So I go out on top. Whatever sport it is, I'm going to pick my deficiency.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, man, if this hadn't happened. No, I'm kidding. Like, I wouldn't do that. But in all honesty, you're giving all these guys license to be the person they weren't allowed to be in the first 20 years of their adulthood, right? Because we're not. We come out the gate and we hit what is the societal umbrella of success where you have to fulfill all these requirements in order to be happy. And we shell out all that time and money looking for that happiness that we see on the TV. And then all of a sudden our kids are adults and we're looking at grandkids and we've shuffled away so much time to what? Retire. Well, if you're going to retire with your grandkids, right? And be able to travel with them. Or do things. So if you've sacrificed the first half, don't give up the second.
You hear it all the time, bro. You're like preaching to the choir. I'm on the phone every day with guys that say that exact same thing you just said. They want to be able to keep up with their kids and their grandkids. They see that, they know that life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer it gets to the end, the faster it goes.
Oh, shit. Ain't that the truth?
Right. And so, it's never too late. Never too late. So
it is never too late. I'm in a completely different career background. I do music producing now, podcasting, and voice acting. I have no business being here except for the fact that this is who I was the whole time.
Yeah.
My entire life. But if you're told to shut up when you're a kid, you might want to go back and ask yourself, why was I yelling? Right? It might have been for a good reason.
That's great. Yeah. Love it.
Right? So why don't we talk about what somebody sees when they come to you day one, right? They pick up the phone, they call you, or they send you an email. They say, look, I'm not satisfied where I am in life. I see what you're doing. What happens?
Well, I'll typically make them fill out a short application, make sure that they're serious and they're a good fit. And that's the first thing I'm going to do is make sure they're not scratching their itch. I'm going to make sure they're hell-bent on making a real and lasting change. Because if you're not hell-bent on making a real lasting change and ready to get started right now, with all due respect, I don't want to waste each other's time and spend an hour on the phone. So, if you're ready to get started when you get back from vacation or next month or when the divorce is over or when everything is just right in your life, which is never going to happen, or by this time next year.
Never.
Right, never. And so for me, the time is always now. And when it comes to exercise and nutrition, as soon as I get on the phone with guys, the first thing I share is that I'm not going to give them a diet, that I'm going to teach them a lifestyle of leanness, number one. And number two, that it's sustainable and you could adhere to it ongoing without it feeling like a part-time job.
Oh, yeah, dude. When I hear these people counting macros, I'm like, no, dude, I didn't even like spreadsheets at work. I don't want a spreadsheet before my meal. Like, I'm going to be pissed if I've got to become a goddamn actuary before I'm allowed to put my broccoli on a plate next to a sparse looking shitty little piece of chicken. That's just a fast road to pissing me off, right? I just could not handle that. I would quit. I would quit immediately. If you had me doing macros, I'd be like, I'm out. Right? I like the lifestyle.
Yes. And I will say that there is tracking.
I'm sure it works.
It works. Is it necessary? No. Can it help initially to make you spot your own bullshit? Yes. Because if you start like just being consciously aware of the macros, not even tracking them, and you're sitting down for lunch, well, I'm having a salad.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if we add up the croutons, the cheese, the bacon, and the dressing.
Oh, come on, man.
Now
that all tastes so good.
1,200 calories, in one sitting, and
it's true.
A salad, and it's
a chef salad. It's got eggs, bacon, a whole entire scenario covering up that gross green stuff on the bottom.
So it's all. I think from again, it goes back to conscious awareness.
100%. But if you ask somebody to test drive a car,
you don't have.
If you test drive a car, you're going to see that car.
Yeah.
So if you're
reticular
sitting in that moment, you're looking for your issues right there, no matter whether you want to or not, because it's pointed out to you now.
Exactly. It's your reticular activator, right? That part of your brain that makes you recognize that.
This fancy word there. Yeah. Reticular activator.
Yes. That's you're a pregnant woman, you see pregnant women everywhere. It's your reticular activator. Same thing. So you're
okay.
You're consciously aware of it. And so when I hop on a call with guys, I really the conversation becomes more about them and what they're looking for to see if we have synergy. I always say, let's pass the asshole test first and make sure we like each other. And I never tell anybody on the first call anymore because There's no trust built. I mean, if they come from YouTube and watch my stuff for 3 years, the trust is built. They're a lot easier to deal with. They've already started following some of my stuff, so they understand my philosophy. But most of the guys I get on the phone with, they're coming off of an ad off of Facebook or something like that. So they're cold. And so for me, it's just like, hey, let's just make sure we have synergy, we have a good fit. But the first thing I explain to them is the difference between outcomes versus mechanisms. Okay. So I am very biased to my RIP Grandpa mechanisms, my 3-step hormone reset. I have things like meal timing for hormonal entrainment. I have things like food pairing and combinations to control cortisol and to control insulin. I have things like strategically timed carbs and cheat meals to reset leptin and thyroid hormones. All of those are very powerful, especially when we get the compounding synergistic effect working together. However, they are a mechanism. They're not an outcome. You will get the outcome from those mechanisms, but what it really comes down to when we're talking about the actual outcome is we have to look at, and you said you're big on metaphors. I'm big on acronyms. So I talked about the BS.
Love acronyms. I was military, man.
Yes.
Everything's an acronym.
It's not bullshit. It's a belief system, right? So I talk about meds. Take your meds in every meal. Meat, eggs, dairy, seafood. Every meal, you have to have one of those. If you don't, you need protein shakes to fill in the missing gaps. So
no shit. So I get surf and turf?
There you go, baby. So
me and the wife are going to have a talk about dinner tonight. I need one of those sea roaches right there in the corner.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things to talk to the guys about is letting them know the difference between the outcome and the mechanism. Because I have an acronym called QUESP. CWESP. So it's like going on a quest. It's just spelled differently. So it's easy to remember. CWESP, QUESP, right? So calorie deficit, adequate water, W, E for exercise. There's a lot that can be covered under that E, right? S for sleep, and P for protein. CWESP. If you don't have those in place, my mechanisms don't matter. Because you have to be in a calorie deficit. You have to.
It makes sense.
You have to burn off more you take in through exercise and nutrition, right? You have to get adequate sleep. You have to get protein. So when my guys get punched in the face, like Mike Tyson says, right? Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. When they 100%. Get punched in the face, we carb cycle because carb cycling is easy to adhere to for the long haul. You don't have to eliminate food groups. There's absolutely no reason to eliminate a food group or a macro unless you have an addiction, a sensitivity, or an allergy outside of common sense. I mean, we all know sugar and processed crap in a box needs to be avoided most of the time, right?
Yep.
But there's no reason to eliminate carbs, for example. I could go on a rant about that at all, right? So for me, when we carb cycle, I introduce my guys to a carb down day. They do that on their resistance training days. So we do get carbs on that day. It's like a medium carb day. I have a day called a deplete day. These are the days that we're going to do what I call cardio cycling. I have a couple different mechanisms that we use for cardio, different types of HIIT, threshold HIIT, creatine phosphate HIIT, and then less low intensity steady state. I have them do a deplete day on that day where they keep carbs a little bit lower. That's more of an aggressive deficit. And then have a carb up day on the weekends. And this is going to help us boost back up metabolic rate. It's going to help us boost back up leptin and thyroid hormones. And it's going to help you adhere to the plan because it's on the weekend where you're more likely to want to eat more. So with all that being said, all those different things that I have, when shit hits the fan and they get punched in the face, I said, listen, don't worry about the deplete day, the carb up or the carb down day at all. Just go back on a quest. All that matters. Just go back on a quest. That's all that matters. Just hit those letters every day. My business coach called me up a couple of weeks ago and he asked me, I coach him on his fitness. So we barter. He runs a $300 million a year company. And he was just like, can you just stop being my coach for a minute and be my friend? And I'm like, sure. He's like, I'm struggling, man. I got 2 young kids and it's just my personality does not like have patience. And I'm just really, really freaking struggling. And I don't know how to deal with this carb down, carb deplete, carb up shit. And you know,
why does that sound like he was hungry at the moment he talked about that? Like the way you describe that is how I would be telling you that if I was pissed and hungry. I don't want to carb up. I don't want to carb down. I just want to eat a meal right now. I'm confused. Help me, man. I need a hug.
Go on a quest.
Go on a quest.
And that's what
Yeah, I'd probably yell at you if you said go on a quest at that moment. I'm not good when I'm hungry. My wife carries travel snacks. Like, just like a Cliff Bar or something for when we get stuck somewhere too long. I don't like being in that situation. But you know what? You brought up something about it being now, right? And you tell people to go on their quest, right? Mm-hmm. Because the fact that it is always now, right? There is no tomorrow. There is no yesterday. You've never been to either one. It's always been now anytime you've checked it. That means if you do fuck up, you do go out with your wife and eat like a big old fat piece of pizza or like 2 or 3 of them, it doesn't mean you can't start tomorrow or start again immediately. Just go forward, right? There's no reason to penalize yourself for what? That's like putting shit in your back pocket and walking around with it. There's no reason to do it. You just want to smell it? Like, what the fuck is up? Go out there, live your life without the baggage, and just make a commitment to try again, try harder. Because the more times you do repetitions of something, the more inclined you are to repeat them, and the more you're inclined to become that person. Live like the person you want to be, not like the person you are now. Like when I started podcasting, if someone came to me the day after I started putting shit together and asked me what I do, I said I'm a fucking podcaster. That's what I am. Well, how long you been doing it? About fucking 2 days, right? But doesn't matter because today I am what I want to be and I'll get there because I love doing it, right? If we put ourselves in the mindset that we are successful, then we have no other place to land but successful because you've removed the other parts of the target, right? You believe in yourself. You're more inclined to get up and keep going.
Well,
I ran a little every now and then.
Well,
but I like living in the moment.
You said something there, right? Like believe. I talk about
so true
belief system, right? You talk about believing, right? And little sidebar, Todd Herman's book, The Alter Ego, is really good for what you just said.
I believe it.
Yeah, so he talks about how there's this phenomenon called enclosed cognition, where they took kids and had them do a puzzle and they had them finish the puzzle as fast as they could. Then they took them all and gave them superhero outfits and had them do the puzzle again. And they did it in like half the time because they thought they had Batman powers or Superman powers or Wonder Woman powers.
Don't ever tell a person piano's hard. Don't ever tell somebody that anything is hard because what you did was you limited them. They just proved in that experiment right there that their capabilities were far greater than they even believed in that moment. Practice is honestly, we go out and we repeat something over and over just to basically confirm we could have done it to begin with.
Yeah.
Right? Because we only believed in ourselves one swing at a time. When in reality, we had home run capabilities on day one. But I got to sit here and do this over and over again. But if I go up there knowing that I'm the fucking best, right? And I believe in myself, not arrogantly. I just mean the human that wasn't told it's hard and that has the chance to go up there and believe they're the best at something. I would guess 9 times out of 10, they kick the ass of the guy who's going to have to go in being told it's hard.
Yeah, no, the person who believes in it is way more likely to succeed than the person that has more talent if they don't believe in it. So
100%.
So there's actually, piggybacking on that, there's actually a couple really good studies about the belief system, the belief system, right? Not the bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
So the first one is the smoothie study. They took 2 groups of dieters and they gave them like a 360 calorie smoothie. They told one group it was over 500 calories and that it was fattening and full of fat and sugar. They told the other group that it was a diet shake and it was only like 160 calories and it was super low calories. And they had them read the label after they drank it. 30, 60, and 90 minutes later, they tested their blood. The group that thought it was a fattening smoothie had double the ghrelin in their blood, which is your hunger.
I believe that.
Right. So this is
our mind contributes to everything.
This is the power of placebo in our belief system. And then there's one more I'll share, the maid study, where they took two groups of maids and they simply informed one group. They told one group of maids that, did you know that every day your job meets the Surgeon General's requirements for daily exercise and then it makes you healthy? The other group, they told nothing. So now, every day when these ladies are cleaning their rooms that were informed, what are they thinking to themselves when they're cleaning? Oh, this is good for me. This is healthy. Of course, they did all the markers, weighing them in, testing their blood. And at the end of 12 weeks, sure enough, the maids that were informed were way healthier, lost way more weight, had better BMI, better blood pressure, cholesterol, triglycerides across the board, simply because in their head every day, they believed their job was good for them. And the other group just wasn't informed. So it's phenomenal, the power of the brain.
It absolutely is. We've been proving this with quantum mechanics and physics as of late, that our brain and our mind and observation of ourself in a scenario does have an impact on the outcome. And I think that all things do start from within. Believe that we're made one way, and that if we capitalize on that superpower or our natural talent and step out on a limb and actually live that and embody it. I like to say that authenticity is like stepping off a cliff with a blindfold, but finding out it was a curb.
Right? Analogy, yes.
You believe that this is going to be the hardest thing I ever had to do, but it shouldn't be hard to drop 4 plates, right? It shouldn't be hard to get rid of all the trash and baggage that's creating you into a different person. It's actually easier. The day that you show up accepting yourself is the day that life becomes a better endeavor, right?
And then I think that leaks into gratitude. And of course,
gratitude is awesome.
Right? So
I didn't even know what gratitude was until probably like 6-7 years ago. I started meditating and I was like, who am I to not notice all of the small intricacies around me? I remember I was standing in my shower and there was a tile on the wall, right? And you know how they kind of etch them into like a seashell or some crap like that, right? I say crap like that. But there's a dude or a woman or anybody there working on this piece of tile, and they probably went home to their wife. Hey, look, they accepted my idea where I engineered this design into the shell, and it's going to be featured in Lennar homes. They're going to do it in every single one of them, right? Aren't you proud of me? I've been working on this so effing hard. And here I am calling it a stupid seashell, right? And that's just one small thing amongst all the things around us. And so why do we find such difficulty in acknowledging gratitude or being grateful for all the things around us, the collective efforts that create every single item in our hands? We want the item. We want people to look at us for the item, but we don't want to respect where the item came from.
It's a great analogy. It's, what you focus on expands. So
that's beautiful.
If you're focusing on the wrong stuff, then you're going to expand the wrong stuff. I think gratitude has to be intentional for a lot of people. I mean, some people are just naturally optimistic and some people are naturally pessimistic. And it doesn't mean you can't change.
Fake it till you make it.
I mean,
pretend to have gratitude. Just say the things that exhibit gratitude over and over and over again. Say thank you. Say, please say, I'm grateful for this. Just say it. Who gives a shit, right? Watch what happens in 30 days.
Yep. And, giving yourself some perspective that if you're watching this and you can turn on a light and you can flush a toilet and you got food on your table, then you got more than 95% of the world. And we lose perspective of that because we're stuck in our daily grind and, we get blind to the blessings that are surrounding us every single day because we become numb to them because they just become in front of us constantly. Same thing day after day after day. So gratitude journal is huge for somebody who's struggling with pessimism. Just start writing.
I like that.
Start writing.
The journaling.
Yeah, just little gratitude journal. It's the first thing I give my guys when they come on board is, on the mindset stuff. I think week 2, I bring in the gratitude. I give them a sheet to print out and make sure they're expressing gratitude. If they're not, mean, some guys just, we naturally have it, and other guys just naturally don't. I mean, I've been told my whole life, how do you stay so positive? And I always say it's a choice. And I think it is a choice, but sometimes you have to condition that choice.
You absolutely do have to condition that choice. You have to work with, you got to be able to lay with your lion, right? Yep. You've got to be able to sit down with all the things that are not acceptable in the society's eyes, or whatever upbringing or background that you have, and sit down with that and realize that, you know, that can give you as much comfort as anything else, because metal untested is paper, right? Because you don't know its strength. So for every time you put that war stripe on your authentic mask, you're not getting uglier, you're getting stronger, right? You're showing people that you've already proven a certain amount of capability in life, good, bad, and indifferent, because lessons learned are far more important than anything that you can just do on your own. Right? There's so many things that I've tripped over, stepped on my junk, and fucked up left and right. But I couldn't look anybody else in the face on this show or talk to people, you know, from any kind of perspective if I hadn't have done those things or been through those things to a certain degree. I don't assume they have anybody else's background or understanding, but I do know that everybody here is putting in the work to be on the planet. So if you're going to be here and ride the rock, fucking do it where you can enjoy it and not sit inside a house with belly fat and not caring about whether or not your grandkids are going to be at the next sporting event or being able to throw a ball with them or, you know, play tea party or whatever you want to do, dude. Like, I think those are the things that are important. I think you embody that. I think we're getting closer to the end here. So I want to be able to give you a chance to put out an exact location where people can come and find you, get your information, and be able to link up and get fit and feel better, right? And change their BS. That was for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, no, it's very simple. Go to theripgrandpa.com and you could follow the Rip Grandpa handles. They're on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. Facebook, it might be easier to find me under Get Lean After 40. That's the company name. But their Instagram and YouTube handles are Rip Grandpa, and then theripgrandpa.com or ripgrandpa.com is going to redirect you to my VSL little short video for guys who might be interested in chatting. Again, I'm here to add value, solve problems, motivate, inspire. That's what my goal is. And then, you know, that pulls people towards me. I'm not here to push anything. So I'm here to pull, right?
I absolutely love that. All right. That's an amazing philosophy. And I think that you're going to find a lot of people coming across your path. Again, I appreciate you. And remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.